Hi, Bobby. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you, buddy?
I see you have a black people in the background. Is this for Black Lives Matter, or do you always have Bob Marley and the Wailers and bobblehead blacks?
All right. So first things first, shout out Aunt Nancy for the sick Bob Marley poster she got me for my birthday.
Good job, Aunt Nancy. That's pretty sick.
Yeah. Um, that's Ricky Williams. I like his political stances.
But he should have dreads. He should be dreadlocked with the helmet on. Ricky
He's got it.
Williams.
He's got it next to him. And then I've got
Yes.
Shane Battier because who doesn't love Shane Battier?
That does not look like Shane Battier. He's lighter skinned
Yeah.
and he has a giant head. His head
That's
should be
Memphis
so much
Grizzlies,
bigger.
Shane Battier.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking more Miami Heat
Duke.
Shane Battier.
Oh yeah, you're thinking end of the career, just walking up the court. Yeah.
No, Duke Battier was a handsome Battier.
Duke Battier was the man.
Because his head still kind of fit his young bod. It was okay. It's kind
Yeah,
of like
he
how
was-
Reggie Miller UCLA is like the handsomest of a Reggie Miller you can get.
He's just a train wreck downhill.
No, he's not like Bosch. Bosch never stopped being a dinosaur.
No, and then got a heart disease and eventually had to drop out of the NBA and wanted to play. That was just ugh.
And that's hard when you're a dinosaur because you're not even
Yeah.
supposed to be alive and you're on the Raptors and you look like a dinosaur. That's weird. And then you get a heart disease and no one knows how to solve it because you're a dinosaur.
Yeah, he's like, you think I'm scared of this heart disease? The comment didn't take me out, motherfucker.
I'm the one left. I'm the one proving that we're real.
I'm the 3 trillion years old, and I'm dunking.
I'm dunking. America runs on my dunking. That's what I'm doing. Did you ever hear the theories that dinosaurs weren't real?
I did.
What?
And for a while in high school, I ran with it because I thought it was hilarious.
It is hilarious. It'd be the weirdest thing to lie. I like that everyone likes conspiracy theory, but you gotta think like, what's the purpose of a lie? Like, I don't understand the purpose of flat Earth. I don't understand the purpose of dinosaurs.
I had a purpose in my theory.
Ooh.
God was testing us.
Oh, so in your theory, there's a God.
In my theory, there was a God who
Okay.
put dinosaur bones on the earth from a period that was older than the earth itself was just to test your faith. And if you believed in dinosaurs, you're going straight to hell.
No, it's like when there's a person like a bad parent who knows their kid's gonna open their Christmas present early, and inside they
Yep.
put like a sign that says "You're not our real son" or something, or like you were adopted, and you're like, "Why would you do that?" Like, because I knew you'd fucking open it. So it's like they're putting the bones in the ground so you'll find the bones so you'll get scared. I don't. But why would we care if there was dinosaur? Like I don't like knowing that there was. Because
No.
knowing that there was scares the fuck out of me that one day we're not going to be around and my bones will be there. And then someone's going to try to build me. And then they're going to make me and put me in a museum. And they're going to be like, this guy must have lived a hard life because he has like a scar on his head and a broken foot. I'm like, no, he was a wuss and he couldn't even drive. And that hit on the head was from a ex-girlfriend who got real mad at him. And his heel broke because he drank too much and an engine block smashed his foot. And his broken finger wasn't from being tough. It's because he played rugby and he fish hooked the guy. Like, I don't want to be that guy in the museum.
No. Dude, I think you're thinking think about how little we know about like ancient civilizations. So like literally in 4,000 years, people are going to look back at this period and be like, there were a lot of angry guys who yelled a lot. We don't really understand the language or why they were yelling, but they thought it was important to look at their cameras and yell back and forth.
Everyone had an opinion, but never stuck to it.
Exactly.
And we don't know what they were mad about. They
Just seems like there was this angry period in history.
and looking down from our alien spaceship, we laughed when they thought only some of them mattered. None of them did. None of them did at all. It was all a game.
We took care of that with our alien nukes.
We called it COVID-19. That's what we shot at them. I wish that I knew more about history, but every time I try to learn about it, I'm like, boring. Like, I want to know stuff. Like, dinosaurs, like, I'm not kidding. Till about age 20, I still once in a while would forget that cavemen and dinosaurs didn't hang out.
I mean, the Flintstones really fucked us all up. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. As kids, we definitely thought they were friends.
Not only friends, we used them like horses.
Yeah, and then there was this extinction, which sent us back to being cavemen because we didn't have dinosaurs to be our slaves anymore.
Yeah, but we didn't get extinct, just the dinosaurs, and then we got horses.
Yeah, they were like mini dinosaurs.
Imagine if you were alive in cartoon dinosaur times when there was brontosaurus ribs and then the dinosaurs were wiped out and you had to have regular ribs. You'd be so fucking mad. Like, you'd be so mad.
I gotta cook so many of these fucking things.
And just how hungry you'd be. Like, it's like now Chris Rock's joke would work about one rib. Like, yeah, one rib. It's fucking huge. But now it's just like regular ribs. Oh, that would suck. Even the idea of cartoons is weird. If you really think about someone was like, we need to have drawings of us. And they're like, what? Yeah. And then it's for kids.
Let's draw it.
You know, like
make them laugh.
Kids and people that are high. But don't worry, in the 90s, we'll make it so adults like it. And they tell kids this cartoon isn't for you.
Dude, I think I'm still stuck on the ribs point because I think that's how farming started. I think people were just like, fuck this. I'm not hunting 12 deer. Let's just raise some shit we're going to kill later.
Or I think they were out listen, in every job, there's good podcasters, bad podcasters, good doctors, bad doctors. There's good hunters and there's bad hunters. So the hunters would go out and they couldn't catch the deer. Every time they tried to catch a deer, the deer would eat all this vegetation. And then they would try to catch it and they would miss with their dumb rock or whatever. So they're like, maybe I'll just eat what they're eating because they're doing better than me. I'm starving more than them. And then they're like, oh, I can grow this easier. And now, you know what? Years from now, I'll just go to a coffee shop and tell people about my lifestyle.
Make sure everybody knows.
Everybody knows I would never eat a deer.
Yeah.
Because they're my dear friends. Yes, that's what they are. I love lettuce. Lettuce tastes so much better than juicy, succulent meat.
You know what's a superfood? Kale. Have you tried kale?
Yeah. You know what's terrible? Anything you have to call super.
Exactly.
A supermarket isn't super. I've never been
terrible.
There. This is fucking sweet. I love the fact that there's a Puerto Rican person hitting their kid with a shoe in the Twinkie aisle. This is super. This is so great.
But at least that kid's not running around.
Not anymore. Not after the shoe. He's getting hit with his own shoe. You can't run around in there.
Yeah.
The cavemen. I like how we always look back at everyone being dumber than us.
Yeah.
Like everything. We look back at people from the 70s and go, well, they didn't have crazy phones. And the 70s are like, well, they didn't have sex in the butt. And then like in the 1800s, they didn't have rights for blacks. Like it was all like different shit. But like, we're the stupidest ones now, I think.
Yeah. You know the one group who doesn't agree with that?
Whoa.
The Amish. They hit a point and we're like, you know what? This is as good as it's going to get, baby. We are living ideally. And they've stuck with it for 60 years.
But imagine being born
They're happy.
Amish. They're
They're
not.
so happy.
I know you're near them, but they're not. They can't. They're born.
They're angry.
Yeah.
They smell bad. They're always pissed off.
And they know. Listen, it was easy to be Amish when you're out and people weren't going to drive by. It was rare that you drove out. You're like, oh, that's Amish country. You don't go out there. But now everyone's buying up land and building around it. And they have to have tourism just to make money. So they got to let people look at them like they're zoo creatures and come in and go, look at them churning butter. I bet you they sleep with their own brothers and sisters. Ha ha. Take that, Jebediah. And you just yell Jebediah at people. And they're like, none of our names are Jebediah. Take that, Jebediah.
An ex-girlfriend and I used to go. A lot of them have greenhouses that they sell plants to, like all these hipster girls that are really into plants now. So they grow these exotic plants, and so like all the like rarest, hardest to find house plants are grown by these Amish people. So they've nailed.
What do you call this one?
Exactly.
It's a fern. Fern. What's it stand for? It doesn't. It's just fern.
It's a plant.
Fern. It sounds stern and female. Fern. Female stern. That's what I am. Fern.
And they're like, whatever you want, ma'am. Take the plant.
Yes, whatever you want, ma'am. Now, I don't know who's allowing you to speak. Where's your man?
Thank you for
Amish.
patronizing our patriarchy.
Yeah, we're Amish, and we don't believe that you should speak to us. Stop making eye contact, boy, girl.
Just slaps her.
Yes, just hits her and goes, now go make supper as we raise the barn. How many barns do we need? We need more barns.
Big Saturday, we got to raise another barn.
Got to raise another barn. Another big barn raising. Are we going to party after? No, we're going to be super tired from raising a fucking barn. And they're like, why do those Italian guys take 6 months to build a building? It takes us a Saturday. Stupid
like, well,
mafia.
they know about capitalism, and they take advantage of it.
Capitalism, that's what the Lord gives you. It's praises and goodness, right? No, moron. It's called like being able to buy real shoes.
Yeah. And the worst part about being Amish is Rumspringer. So they give them all like a period of time where they just get to go experience normal life. And then they have to make a decision. Do you want to go be a part of all the cool shit you just discovered? Or do you want to be able to contact your friends and family that you've known in your life ever again?
See,
So they all choose to go back. And it's like, everybody there is like, oh, we fucked up.
I don't know about this. It's called Rump Singer.
Rumspringer, like
And that's
RUM spring, or yeah.
But was it always a thing, or is that newer?
It's newer as like technology's developed and stuff.
Okay.
And it used to be just like a week, but now it's basically just as long as you want. So you could be on like a 3 or 4 year Rumspringer with all your friends where they basically get all the wild shit they want to do. So occasionally like Ocean City and a lot of the beaches like down by them will just see these Amish kids that come into town and just tear shit up because they don't know how to function. And
they must do so many drugs.
I would imagine everything. And then everybody back there is just partied for like what, a year straight, and now
and you go
lives
back.
Boring life.
I couldn't go.
Dude.
How do you go back? I wouldn't go. If I knew about it and I heard like someone like an older brother or someone went, I'm like, I don't want to know like that life is better, or even if it's worse or whatever it is. That would be a weird time in your life. And then to have to go back, like to be live. If I was born in a cult, then I'd be fine because I wouldn't know I was in a fucking cult.
Exactly.
I'm just in the cult. But if you let me out of the cult and then I get back in the fucking cult, then I'm like, fuck this, man. I can live my life and choose things. I wouldn't want that. I can have butter in a box.
Yeah, and like
box butter.
Yeah, I don't have to churn this shit.
No one uses the word churn at all.
Yeah, nobody ever bitches. Nobody has to milk cows.
No.
You know those things that kill 8 of us a year because they hit our buggies that go way faster than we do? You don't even have to whip them.
You mean drunken teens? No, I mean cows. They just run them. If I was a teen that lived near, like, how far away do you live from Amish country?
Probably 20 minutes.
So you could, when you were younger, you could definitely go there and fuck with them.
You could try. I wouldn't recommend it.
Why?
These dudes work out in the fields like all day, and then on the weekends do carpentry. And in their free time, just wrestle each other. Just like you don't want to mess with an Amish boy; they will fuck your shit up.
What do you mean wrestle? Like just
is
it gay?
Just men used to do. No. Like old school, just like wrestling, pin the other guy, or shadow boxing.
That's their sport.
Yeah, and baseball. They fucking love baseball.
What? Oh, I never thought about that. Yeah,
it's crazy. How come
no Amish guys become baseball players?
I would imagine they just don't know all the modern techniques.
Sweet.
Like I imagine they're still playing by an antiquated set of rules where like
God.
It's crazy. On Sundays, the entire like city will be filled with buggies and stuff, and then you'll just see all these softball fields filled with Amish people playing baseball because it's their day off. They take a day of rest. It's like a community day. They have a big supper after. And like all that aside, it has its appeals. And like the big thing a lot of people talk about is happiness. So like at the end of, when you've worked outside all day, just doing manual labor, and you sit back and you're sitting on the couch in the AC and you're like, damn, I feel good. That's their sense of happiness. Like that's their goal.
They don't have AC.
But still, like that feeling is like I'm doing well in life, and they follow a set of rules, and like it's simpler. Like, if I'm doing that, I'm living life right. Like, I mean, I'm not Amish, obviously. I don't know don't speak for them 100%, but it is an interesting like philosophy,
No, it really is. I mean,
I feel like a lot of.
Right now, my joy in life is like I've been running a lot, not being able to do comedy and things like that. I'll go for a run. I worked yesterday, and then I had to go do a comedy show that was during the day. I did like 40 minutes for the first time since March 14th, and I was
congratulations.
Like, felt good. It was a weird situation. We were out, and
I saw.
They explained awesome. It to people, but they explained it was weird. So it's at this place called Center Stage. It's a big theater, right? But it was outside.
Yeah, so it's this outside theater.
But
and
not really.
I see
it's not an outside theater.
It's not. It's a stadium.
They made a fake stage behind. It looks.
I'll tell you.
But it looked better in the picture. So before you do that,
okay.
The picture made it look great. It really was like it's a field that like 7th and 8th graders play soccer or lacrosse on with a little bit like a big bleacher, but that's really it. and they took a stage and put it right in front of the fence next to the field
And it looked
because
like a 4-foot wide stage, like not a lot of room to walk
not
or
even,
anything. You
not
just had to
even.
stand there, right?
This same stage could have been used to get Elio Gonzalez here from Cuba. He could have rode this and came in. It was tall, but it was very small. And
That's awesome.
so as we get there, I can hear a lot of noise in the background, and we find out that they didn't realize that the lacrosse players booked that field that day. They weren't supposed to be there. So now there's full-on 7th and 8th grade girls playing a lacrosse game. I mean, my back is to the fence. They're behind there. They're farther away, but they're right there. We have microphones. We're loud, and we're not told to be clean or do anything. But it was awesome to be on stage again. It was fun to perform the comics I haven't seen in a while. The audience was really cool with it. We were allowed to be dirty, do crowd work. We would make jokes about it, but not too much, but it felt great. But I left there, and I lived 3 miles from there, so I ran home. So I did all that.
That's awesome.
I came home. I hung out with my daughter, and I sat on the couch after a shower, and I sat there like the fucking Amish, and I felt good. I'm too poor for air conditioning, but a fan hit me well. And I was like, I've had a good day. I've been having a lot of stress in my life. But right now, this feels good. So I get the Amish.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. And like one thing you forgot, you're somebody's hero yesterday because some dad had to take his 7th grade daughter who doesn't play at all to lacrosse practice and watch her. And he was like, "What's that noise?" And he got to hear a comedy show and not watch any girls lacrosse. So you made somebody's whole day.
We did, but we also ruined a couple parents' time trying to videotape their daughters because it's on you're trying to record your daughter. Maybe listen, I'm a divorced dad. My son wrestled. I couldn't make with wrestling practice being same time as shows. I couldn't make every match. So when I would go, I would try to tape or record or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a dad out there who is the only game he can make this year. He wants to record it. He wants to be there. And I'm up there talking about how a lady asked me if I had extra large tampons at fucking Big Lots. And we were all swearing and doing sex jokes. But no one cared. And the audience they were great for what they were. They were sitting in bleachers. They were spaced out. On the railings was a picture of me with the one behind me. They took that and put it on the railing because it looked like I'm distancing you away. And I was like, they go, "You have a look of someone who would distance you." I'm like, "Fuck you." But like, all right, man, that's fine. But it felt good. It felt good. I can get that sense of relief. But you made me think of something. I found a way for you and I to become big stars. Here's our way to make money. You just did it. You just came up with it without telling me. The feel-good movie of the summer.
Okay, I'm in.
Amish kid playing baseball. We scout him. You get him to the big leagues. He doesn't understand. He's traveling with the minor league teams.
Oh, my God. We get him into
drinking,
cocaine, and steroids.
And the parents come, the judge. We can go comedy or we can go real. But either way, the new version of the natural, this kid that's caught up, or maybe he stays clean the whole time. Maybe he doesn't get caught up in it. But maybe people around him, maybe his younger brother comes to visit and he overdoses. And that makes him go, should I play baseball? Should I go back to the Lord?
Then he throws a perfect game. Oh, my God, dude. I'm in.
He pitches and he hits because he has to do it all when he played. He can do it all. He can catch whatever you need him. He's like the utility guy, and he doesn't understand, like, and the teammates come around like a Rudy, but we can do this.
They teach him about showering and deodorant and oh my God.
Pulling out.
Yeah. They're like,
teach them all about pulling out.
They taught you a lot of weird shit in that Amish school.
Just sprays it all over his mom's face. Like, this is what we do now. It's like, all right, woo. No, that should be the new one.
Dude, I'm in. You have a sharp mind. That's a golden picture.
Yeah. The second you said it and said they played baseball, it's all I saw. Like, just the way you scout that, like they always do that weird thing. It's like, we went to the Congo and found this basketball player because they were throwing coconuts at a fucking watermelon basket, and then we learned they could be the next Manute Bull. Like, what about Amish? Nobody would watch it. And
I've got the perfect post-credit scene to wrap it all up. So he get a contract? Won't he get a contract at the end of the year? You don't really know. And then it's opening day where they show everybody roll up in their hot cars, and he rolls up in a horse and buggy and gets out, and everybody just cheers, and the movie cuts to black.
But here's the part you're leaving out that makes it even bigger.
Okay.
Earlier in it, he wanted to go to his first game in his horse and buggy, but his favorite horse, Popo, died. and Popo couldn't pull it anymore. And Popo had a baby horse, what do they call calf, and he raised it, but didn't think he'd ever grow up to be that, and he missed that baby. In the final scene, pulling the buggy, baby Popo, the new one, tearjerker.
That's great. Can I add one more thing to it?
Please.
The power hitting first baseman from Detroit, who's given him a hard time the whole movie, buys baby Popo for him back to show that they've actually become friends. You know, the guy who kept yelling, "Get this stanky motherfucker out of here."
Horsepower. Who the fuck talking about horsepower? Better than that plan at the end, the second credits, when like when Thor gives the hammer, like the second credit. This time, the big mean, we're not saying black, we're both doing voices, first baseman from Detroit, pulls out his cock and puts it next to Popo's cock, and they're the same size. And they both look at the guy and realize they're all the same.
I love it, dude. I'm in.
We need a name. What's a good? It has to be a baseball pun with Amish stuff.
Oh,
I'm trying to think. I was thinking Mission Impossible, but that's more like a spy. That's more like a spy movie thing. But Mission Impossible should definitely be an
like
Amish
that.
guy.
Yeah.
That's our next movie where the Amish guy now infiltrates the FBI because they need an honest person. There's no more honest people in the FBI. And they finally hire one. It's an Amish man. And it's Mission Impossible.
Dude, I'm just Jebediah. I came to see Israel.
Lord, 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 Jesus Christ, Lord, 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 Lord.
That's great.
We got it all. We got the show already. It's working. Yeah. We need that. Okay, so
I don't think movie. Play? I think we do TV show. He plays baseball. Next time he's a spy now.
See, then it becomes He becomes Ernest goes to Amish land.
That's true.
It needs to be a movie, but it's obviously not going to go to the big screen.
No,
but it might be Lifetime.
Yeah, Hallmark.
It's definitely
Hallmark or take anything.
This could be Netflix. If you did it, the only problem we'd run into, and seriously, if you think about what we just pitched for real, without the horse cock part or anything like that, if we really did pitch this feel-good movie, would actually bring America's pastime back into the forefront for people. This thing about playing baseball, about this, but there's nothing more American than working hard. And that would be his thing. An Amish person, we should bring America back to it. And not saying, you're not pushing like, oh, it shouldn't be Cubans. I'm just saying it'd be a good feel that way. The problem would be is that we'd pitch it and they go, is he black? Is he a woman? I'm like, well, no, he's Amish.
He's a minority.
He's
and they're
like,
Amish. That's, I don't know if that counts.
No, they're against, they're not woke. I'm like, well, yeah, they're
white minority.
They're not woke. No.
How about making America Amish again?
That might hurt some of the demographic. I mean, the ones that go will be fucking into it. It's like, they'll be real into it.
Speaking of baseball, you want a quick preview of my submission to Last Comic Standing?
Yes.
A lot of people think America is anti-homosexual, and I think that's just a hard pill to swallow because baseball's still our pastime. And I think that's pretty fucking gay.
Yeah. You're going to get people like,
nope. Exactly. That's what I'm going for. That's my usual response.
Yeah, I won't be there tomorrow for yours. I'm pissed. But
that's all good, dude.
I was supposed to, this is my bummed out week. I'm feeling better now. We have a plan to become famous with our Amish movie. But
yeah.
I was supposed to be doing an entire week at the casino from the 5th to the 9th or whatever it was. But they had the headliner that was supposed to come. They just put the headliner from California, Ryan O'Flanagan or something. I've never heard of him. But I guess because of COVID, whatever, he can't fly in. So they had to replace him. And they replaced him with a comic from New York, Jared Freed, who I know and is great. But Jared needed a ride, so he said he didn't know I was on the show. There's no anything about me being on it. But
it was just
I get bumped because he had to bring an opener. And it's like – and then he's bringing an opener, and I see both their names, and I'm like, both of them make decent money. I needed that money to pay rent. And it's like, fuck me.
It sucks because
this.
You didn't do anything to lose it.
No.
It was a freak accident.
And Ryan had to message me, and he's like, dude, I feel awfully going to tell you that. I'm like, no, it's not you. And we're friends, so I can fucking whine for a minute to him, but he knows I'm not mad. But I'm still hosting the contest on the Wednesday and the Sunday, but I was going to be there the whole week. And I was looking forward. that made me feel like comedy was back and the world was getting back to normal. You know what I mean?
It's a sense of normalcy, dude. I performed at a strip club in New Jersey for 12 people, 8 of which were other comics on the show.
Recently?
And it 2 weeks ago.
Ooh. Was there strippers there?
There were. They sat at a table and talked the entire show loudly and on their cell phones.
Are they allowed to strip?
They are. Outside.
What?
You heard it.
I did, but that's why I asked again.
Outside.
They can strip outside?
Yeah. It's a nice little tented area. I'm
How
not
is
going to
that
give
legal?
the location away because I'm pretty sure it's not.
Oh,
but-
okay. I was like,
They're
how is
like,
that
fuck
legal?
it.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, fuck it, we're
Illegal.
working. I was like, all right. Do you know Rich Carucci?
I do. It's the
Yeah.
second time his name has come up to me today.
Well, he's
The,
a good dude.
I was about to say this. Not the pile, the steamroller. Is that what he?
The steamroller of comedy.
Yeah, when I first started doing comedy, I would go up to New Jersey and I did like a firehouse or two with him and like Mark DeMeo. He would book like I got to do with like I love DeMeo, but and Carucci would book that kind of stuff. And I met some other comics like that because I was booking things.
Gemini? Did you ever meet Gemini, the ventriloquist?
Yeah, the fucking magician guy. Yeah, I fucking met Gemini.
That was our headliner.
Fuck
He
him.
was.
And I'm sure he's a good guy. I don't really know him. My great story about him was like he came to Joker's Wild, and he was supposed to do like New Year's Eve or something. Like Tony Camacho was booking it, and Dan Calloway was like, "Fuck that!" He's like, "We gotta get rid of it. We can't fucking Gemini." I'm like, you're right, man. We did everything
People
we could
would
to not have.
riot, dude.
When he came to Joker's, they loved him.
He killed. He was the only comedian
Killed.
everybody laughed at. He's a monster.
It's dumb that we get mad at it because we're overthinking it, but it's just like fuck you and your dumb tricks.
I'm going to be
I don't
honest.
want
I saw he was the headliner, and I begged Rich to put me on that show. I was like, I've heard everybody talk about this guy, Rich. I just want to work with him. And he was super nice to me. He was like, he heard that some comedian was coming from Pennsylvania to meet him. And I was like, that's not exactly the situation here.
Right. Yeah. But they love that shit.
Yeah, exactly. So he was the man. He was giving me tips and stuff.
When I first started, me and a comic who actually just passed away last week, Dr. Jay Sute, he's a stand-up, a pediatrician, stand-up, they call himself a stand-up pediatrician. I hadn't talked to him in years. We had a falling out, but still, you never want to hear anybody die. He was a wonderful guy that everyone loved. It was just a dumb argument thing, and I feel bad that we never got to reconnect before that, whatever. I'm not even sure what he died of, but he was a sweetheart guy that went through a lot in life and just did gigs, never needed the money, kind of didn't take it, would give it to other people. It just was a loving soul who just loved his weed and his comedy and his life, and was just a wonderful guy that you hate to see gone. Him and I, he's one of the first gigs I ever got to do outside of Connecticut, and he took me with him. We did a show for, what the fuck's the guy's name? Mike. It's in like Long Island area.
Text me after the show if you can remember the name. I'd like to meet this guy.
No, I don't think you want to. Mike Dillon. Do you know the name? Okay, well,
no, I don't.
He put on these show. He has a name of a comedy thing. He's not a bad guy, whatever. And he booked us on a show, and the headliner was Paul Veneer. Do you know Paul Veneer?
I do not know Paul Veneer.
Paul Veneer calls himself the Comedy Tornado.
Okay.
And he's also been known for he's one of the first guys to take like the 4 mannequins and put them on sticks, put them on his arms, and dance around like it's Jackson 5 or the Village People.
All right.
He did that in we were in a Long Island in a hotel. And not even like in the big function room. I think it was actually in a room you just rent and they took the beds out. So there's all this shit on the stage. Like, cause he's a prop guy, like a Freddie Stone guy, just tons of shit. So if you're going to open for him and do like 5 minutes, you have to stand like inside Sanford, basically inside Sanford and Son. You're just standing inside a junkyard, trying to move around, trying to do things. I do my time. Jay does his time. As we're leaving, we were just happy to perform on a show out of Connecticut. It was my first year. Jay been doing for a couple of years, but he was just one of those guys that was happy I was on a show and got me that opportunity. And we get there and we walk over to say goodbye. And we shared this laugh for a 3.5, 4-hour ride home because we go over to Paul Veneer, whatever. And he goes, we're like, hey, man, great to meet you. And he's like, well, you got one thing going for you now. At least you got a credit. You opened for the Comedy Tornado. So we both laughed. Thinking he obviously is joking. But he did not laugh. He stared.
Oh, no.
And he was serious. And we went, oh. So we would not stop for like a year. Be like, what's your credits? You know my fucking credits. I opened up for a tornado.
What's your nickname? You got the steamroller, the comedy tornado. What are you?
I mean, a lot of people called me an asshole, egotistical, this fucking guy again. Like I had those nicknames, but my comedy nickname, without meaning to, was Potatoes for my first 4 years. That was my name, and the joke. I mean, it was nonstop. People were like, potatoes. I mean, literally, I was Potatoes. When I got to open for Jim Jefferies, that's all he knew my name as. And
That's awesome.
He's like, all right, Potatoes, get the fuck over there, Potatoes. I'm drunk. Make sure I don't hurt anyone, Potato. I'm like, all right.
Is it a neat experience working with those guys? Was that at Mohegan Sun?
That was at Foxwoods. That was before they were at Mohegan Sun. That was a while ago. I got to work with him before he like became superstar. Like legit was about to come out. His act was what became legit.
That's awesome.
And
the hooker to the guy in a wheelchair to the hooker. Yeah, that was. That was this had his video of him getting punched on stage come out yet?
Just.
Okay, so yeah, he was just starting to pop. That's awesome. You got him to meet him.
He got to be the headliner at the regular club, and he packed it out. But the next time he came back a year later, he was doing the Fox Theater, which was across the hall inside there, but it held 1,400 people.
Holy
and because
shit.
I had opened for him before, and he wasn't bringing an opener, the club said, do you mind if the guy opened for you last night? And he didn't say, like, oh, I want Pat, but he was just like, yeah, that's fine. So I got to perform 2 shows, each in front of 1,400 people each, and it was fucking crazy.
That's awesome.
And I thought maybe I'll be doing 10 minutes. He goes, do a half hour. I don't give a fuck.
And that's so cool.
And the coolest part was this is like maybe a year after Sandy Hook, right? About that or so. And he was doing his Sandy Hook Newtown material. And he was doing it. And he goes, do you think that will fly here? I'm like, I mean, it did. It's not that far. He goes, oh yeah, we're in Connecticut. Oh, I can't wait. His eyes lit up.
He got excited.
I can't wait. And so he'd be crushing. And then he just went into it. He's like, the guy was fucking retarded. And he's going on. He's like, oh, it's so great to watch. He's amazing.
Oh, that's so cool. Working with guys at the casino, do you find that's more fun maybe when you were younger than like working with them at a typical comedy club, because then you get the casino aspect of it as well, like you get to go hang out with them?
I guess it depends who you are. Like I don't drink. There was times I was drinking, I guess, opening for some people, but for the most, like I only have 1 or 2 like drinking with a fun comic story. Like, do you know Brett Ernst?
No, I don't.
Brett's a hilarious comedian, very funny guy. And when he came to the casino, I was drinking at the time. We got to go to a nightclub afterwards. He taught me how to play craps like we were gay. He had his arms around me. We were all hammered. And then we ended up in a hotel room just chatting, drinking the rest of the drinks we had left 4 in the morning. And he's like, do you believe in God? And I'm like, I think it's time for you to go. And then the next day he goes, did I ask about God? I'm like, yeah. He goes, that's a good thing you sent me. Oh, I do that when I'm real drunk. So like, and I had fun with some people, but for the most part, I was fun with Jim because I was like, he was such an animal and crazy and I also worked for the club. I was the house comic. So like I had to kind of watch him because this is when he was crazy. Like he was like the human Dudley Moore. Like
he was nuts.
So so I was involved, but usually I don't really get caught up in it. And to the point where it's probably hurt me at times because I know a lot of comics will network well and get other gigs out of it. I kind of leave them alone. I'll chat in the green room. If they wanted to get together, if we're at the casino and wanted to get lunch or something, fine. But I really don't bother them. I kind of just show up, do my work, and leave. Like when I opened for Dean Del Rey, and I didn't really know who he was, but then afterwards I fucking loved his comedy. I mean, he used to be a musician, and he's open for Marin and Burr and all that. He's got a great podcast and all that. He was also a guy who doesn't drink or do anything. And we would just chat and have nice conversations. But the last day, he's like, oh, I feel like we should have done something cool. So we walked to Starbucks inside the casino, and he bought me a coffee. And that was nice. You know, I wasn't really rock star, but like, you know, it was something.
But there are probably a lot of comedians who you're one of their favorite openers because they're like, that guy didn't pester me to hang out the whole time. He just gave me my space. Like, I feel like that's probably a pretty good tactic too.
I mean, yeah, but usually I'll do whatever you ask. I mean, I don't really like it when someone's like, don't do this, don't do that. But most people don't. But if they ask me not to do crowd work, I don't do crowd. I always conform. Like if you say, hey, I want to do an hour instead of 45, do you mind doing 15 instead of 25? Like, am I getting paid the same? So, yeah, I'm like, all right, then fine, whatever. It's not about me. It's not my name on there.
Exactly.
I'm gonna get my work in and work on stuff regardless. And I don't want to get caught up. And also, if I sit there and get caught up in who the fuck they are, then I'm missing the point of what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you want to be there for you.
And they're also just some fucking loser moron whose brain's so fucked up they got to tell jokes. We're all the same idiot.
Yeah, we are.
You know, so are you doing new material since COVID, or is it a mixture?
I've got a couple of things. I've used a lot of my just use the contest for example. Like I have jokes and setups that I've added like COVID related things to just to make it relevant. But I haven't added too much new material. I'm sticking with the stuff I know for now. I'm not like nobody knows me yet, so I don't really have to burn my material. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I'm gonna try to just polish a solid 30 minutes, really get to real featuring. I was laughing about prop comedy. The reason why I got moved from like opener to feature is because the feature act that I worked with when I was being the host was a fucking guitar player. And one night the headliner pulled me aside and was like, "Hey, can you do feature time?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "Because I'm so sick of following a fucking guitar."
Oh yeah.
So it wasn't like you're good. It was just like I hate that.
I like music acts, but yeah, that's a weird. They're not in a laughing mode. They're in a listening mode, and it's
Yeah,
a different.
and he does all crowd work. So like
Yeah.
he needs them to be ready to participate. And it was just he was like, "Can you do this?" And I was like, "Yeah." So
I don't want to make this the whole I open for Jim Jefferies show, but you just remind me of another thing, and that's the best part.
dude,
The first time. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, part of the legit is part of the reason I decided to like really pursue comedy actively. I was like, that's what I want to do. I love Jim Jefferies. I went on a kick for about 4 years where just any podcast he was on. So please tell me
All
all
right.
of your Jim Jefferies
Then good.
stories.
Then you will enjoy this one. When I first got to open for him, I didn't, like I said, didn't really know who he was. I had heard the name, didn't know anything about him at all. I got there, and this is me hosting then. I wasn't even working for this club yet. I was my second, or they were working me. They didn't really know many comics. They had just started being club comics there. And so they only had like 8 or 9 people they knew. So once they met me, then they're like, I was hosting almost like every 3 weeks. It was pretty cool
That's
just
awesome.
beyond all these things. And like I was middling other smaller clubs, and I was headlining in middling small one-nighters, but I didn't have 45 minutes or anything yet. I was newer. This is like 8 years ago, something like that. So
Yeah.
I was just happy to be there. But I could do more time, but I was going to do 15. Now the middle guy was a guy that they started getting when a new club opens up. All the local Connecticut people, or anyone, any state you're in, they start messaging and if they don't know what's right and wrong, a guy who's been doing it a long time, who really isn't a club comic or shouldn't be in like a hack, if you will, whatever, can convince a club that he's the guy to have. And there was this guy named Steve Lazarus, and Steve would book these shows all over Connecticut. I'd never been allowed to be on one, and like these different like dumb restaurants next to the airport and shit, like fucking spaghetti dinner bullshit shows. His whole thing was he also was he was a vendor at Yankee Stadium, and he one time met the Pope when the Pope went there, and he sold. After the show, he would sell like Yankee hats, not with his name on it, just fucking Yankee hats, and a book he wrote that said "I met the Pope." Like that was his dumb shit. He was the middle act, and the headliner is Jim fucking Jefferies. So we go into the green room, and so I go up first. I ask what I have to say, whatever. I go up, I do my 15, and behind this, it was a big theater stage, not like the stage they have now at the new club. The old club used to be an old what's his name? Benny? No, what was the black guy who played guitar? Who's the black guy that played guitar?
Jimi Hendrix.
No, that the guy. BB King. BB fucking King.
Okay. Oh, okay. My bad.
You were right.
I'm from Memphis. I should know that.
If we were playing this game of a pyramid, you did the right first guess. I just said black guy and guitar. I mean, what the fuck? You didn't go like living color, fishbone. It's like you didn't just go nuts. But like,
Hootie and the Blowfish.
Right. He didn't play guitar, and his name's Darius. How fucking dare you? He's a great country guy that dupes white people every day.
Oh, he just ripped off Wagon Wheel. Come on.
I think it's a good cover.
It is a very good cover. I'm actually a bigger fan of that than the original.
Yeah, the original is too Poe Duncan trash for me, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of Darius Rucker. I enjoy him. He's the black we can enjoy with our white parents. Anyway, so it's like, take that, Battier. So anyway, it's like, so it's an old BB King's. That's what the club was. And so it was set up like a music type place. A huge stage, and behind it, you could sit behind the curtain and listen to the show while you were back there waiting or be in the green room. So when I came off stage, Jim was sitting there. And he was just like, he goes, good job, potatoes. I was like, oh, hey, he kind of knows my name. Oh.
Yeah, dude, like, I would have ejaculated at that moment.
And he's like, I like what you did out there. And I walked off. And so he kind of kept sitting there listening to the guy, Steve Lazarus. And the guy's a fine comic enough, whatever. But it's old school. It's kind of, I don't mean to say the hack in a bad sense, but it's the old school style. And so when Jim was about to go up on stage, the owner happened to walk back, and I was walking up because I had to go bring Jim up. Take Steve off, bring Jim up. So we're walking up a couple minutes before, and the owner says, "Hey, Jim, is there anything else you need? Any food and whatever?" And he goes, "You know what I need? I need the fucking potatoes to be the middle act for the rest of the weekend, and the other fucking guy, this guy, to be the host. I don't like the energy. I want it fucking flipped." And so the owner goes, "Whatever you need." So after I brought Jim up, whatever, Steve Dunn, whatever, I walk to the back, and then the owner grabs me and says, "Do you have 25 minutes?" I'm like, "I do." And he was like, "Well, we're going to make him happy." So I go, "This is going to be a weird fucking weekend now." And he goes, we'll handle that. I'm like, "All right." Because in the back of my mind, remember, I'm still this newer Connecticut comic.
Yep.
As happy as I am to open for Jim, I want to get work from Steve. Steve's more important to me in my mind because I need work because I'm doing the club once in a while, but that's going to go away. And I need that local work. I get a headline and make 300 someday from that guy, especially if I do well here.
Yeah.
Then, so I'm like, I don't want to burn a bridge. What the fuck? You know, so the second show we get there and Jim's like, the first show, they explain it to the guy, and he's kind of looking at me. He's not really mad. He's like, "Oh, it's fine, whatever." And he's like, "Are you still going to sell your merch?" Because Jim was selling one of his first album special, and he had new. So he's selling that, and this guy's selling a book he wrote about the Yankees and a Yankee hat. And so Jim's like, "I don't know what you fucking sell your merchandise to me." So but they split the table a little bit. So first show, we did 2 shows on Friday. I bring up Jim. Whatever. I do my act middle, and then Steve has to bring him up. As I walk off, Jim goes, "I don't even want him bringing me up."
Oh no!
Why don't we?
You're doing the old school handoff technique. Oh no!
He wants to piggyback it now because he doesn't want this guy's energy.
Oh no!
And on stage, he's going, "I'll be over there selling my wonderful HBO special next to the guy selling fucking Yankee hats." He's just shitting on this guy, and I'm feeling wonderful, but I'm just in this thing. So so I get to hang out with him each night. Steve, the middle act, like the headliner, gets a hotel room. The host usually is local, no hotel room. So I'm hanging out. I live like an hour or so away, but I was hanging out a little bit, but going home every day. Whatever.
Yeah.
Saturday comes, and I get their first show, and Steve looks miserable. It's not a good weekend for Steve. He's been neutered. He's been shut down. He did nothing wrong. He did the exact act he was hired to do. They knew exactly what he was doing. It just didn't. The booking didn't make sense, but they didn't know they were brand new. Ryan wasn't even the one booking it back then. Ryan now with comics never would have booked that kind of style together.
No, he would have known the two things. Yeah,
he wouldn't have booked Steve Lazarus. Anyway, so. He just wouldn't. I just know Ryan. He never would have booked that fucking guy. But anyway, so we get there. I get there early for the show, and Jim's like, potatoes. We're just chatting, whatever. And we're all buddies. And he goes, tonight after the show, we gotta get fucking nuts. You gotta get fucking. I'm like, I got a long drive back. Whatever. And I wasn't drinking then either. I had quit for a while, then started again, then quit now forever. But so. I was like, maybe for a little bit, it's a long drive back. And he's like, he just turns and looks at Steve and goes, "Steve," he's like, "You're not having a good time, right?" And he's like, it's been fine. Like, I understand. You live close. You don't want to hang out after. Why don't you give potatoes your room? And I'm looking like, don't fucking do this. Don't do this. He's like, why don't you give potatoes your room and you just fucking go? And he's like, I'm like, so he gives me they talk to the owners. They said, I get his room. He has to go get his shit. And now I get to have his room and hang out with. And it was such a wonderful bonding for me. So at the end, I'm like, "Hey, Steve, hopefully someday." And he's like, just look at me like, "Don't you fucking dare.
Don't even mention it, dude.
You fucking dare ask me." So it's like, yeah, I never got to work the Skyline.
Oh, Jesus.
Story. But I did get to open for Jim one more time at Foxwoods and then one more time at the theater. So, to this day, I'm sure he doesn't know my name or remember me or anything. But for me, it was like the first time I got to be accepted by someone who was really good at comedy. You know what I mean? My act. It wasn't about me, like my act and what it did. Because he's like, I was like, "Is it okay if I do crowd?" He's like, "You do you. Your energy is what I want to follow." And I was like, "Oh, that always stayed with me." And then I just buried an old man. That always feels good.
Absolutely. And you say he doesn't know your name until after this. You get a call. "Potatoes, I hear you got this great piece of shit idea. I'd like to bring it to a segment on my show."
Yeah. You know what? I only know that because here's how crazy I was. and I've never admitted this to anybody, but Bobby, I feel like I talked to you. Once I started drinking again, I had gone through some shit, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm drinking again. I reached out to him and be like, hey, because I saw he was coming back to the area to do somewhere else different. If you're working there, I don't know if you need an opener or you just want to say hi, but I'm drinking and we can hang out now. No response. And I'm like, yeah, that was thirsty as fuck and weird. And I was like, when I was in a damaged place, I was like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. So yeah, even if he does, I'm pretty blocked, I'm sure, at that point. But it was memories I'll always have. Like it's weird that that other guy couldn't have recognized that, hey, I'm still funny. You don't have to like me. You could have given me that fucking gig at Skyline. You could have booked
absolutely.
me. Fuck the book. Fuck the Pope.
Yeah, and like
fuck the Pope. That's what
there are guys like that who take themselves way too seriously. So I work for a guy who books his own shows, VFW's Fire Halls in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And the reason why he books me is he's like, I don't need an opener. I don't need a feature. There's not opportunities for young comedians. And so like he just really gives you stage time. He listens to your set and he's like, all right, I feel like you've nailed this 10 minutes down. Let's move you up to 15. And like is really trying to give back to young
what's this guy's
things
name?
like that. Earl David Reed.
Yeah,
he's the morning DJ
Earl
for
David
105
Reed.
the X.
We used to have him come down to Jokers. He's fucking awesome.
He's the man, right? And like
hilarious.
That's how you do it the right way. Like he has changed my life. Like he literally took me from some guy who got 1 or 2 bar shows every other month to somebody I performed pretty much every other weekend with him in front of 300 people. You know what I mean? And just for no reason other than the fact that he was like, I like comedy. I want to give other people his opportunities. Guys like that we need more of. Guys who are like, I'm the king of Connecticut. Like, that's the guy who
hey, easy. I'm the king of Connecticut.
There it is. There's the nickname, the king of Connecticut.
Oh, believe me, it's been said sarcastically very much. Or the mayor of Connecticut, or the godfather of Connecticut comedy. I've gotten that. Bullshit.
On the East Side Dave show, I've been calling myself podcasting's last hope, ironically. So,
like Sam Roberts.
Yeah, just to make fun of Sam Roberts, if I'm being honest.
Very much. I like that very much. Earl David Reed and Rodney Laney are two of the first guys that I ever saw that because when you first start doing comedy, you only know the names, like the famous people, or the names you hear on Howard Stern or Opie and Anthony, stuff like that back then. So you always thought if you hadn't heard of anybody, they couldn't be good. Earl David Reed and Rodney Laney, I had to see, I think it was 2 weeks in a row at Jokers where I went, I got to work really hard just to be okay at comedy. Because if people don't, if the whole country doesn't know, if the country doesn't know who these two motherfuckers are, there was those two. There was a guy, now he's known because he did Last Comic Stand, but there was a guy named Ian Bagg who I got to open for at Funny Bone. He did like crowd work on Last Comic Standing, but no one does that.
Yeah, that's unheard of.
He made it to like the finals and shit. Like there was a guy like the Jim Short. There were people I watched that was just like, these are just beasts. They're just the strongest. They're unbelievable. Like Vince Morris, Michael Malone. There's all these comics I saw like getting to do the Connecticut clubs and open for them. They weren't household names. And I'm like, oh my God, they're amazing. They're killers. They can't make that next step. How the fuck am I going to go from host to feature without Lazarus fucking up? Like, how the fuck am I going to do this? It was crazy. To watch Earl David Reed was just so smooth. A comic who was the Connecticut legend, Johnny Rizzo, is the one who told me about him. He's like, this guy Earl David Reed comes in. He's incredible. And I remember watching, and just the nicest guy, but he just owns a stage. He commands it.
Doesn't matter who's in the room, what they're doing beforehand. He's not wrong when he says he doesn't need anybody to set the tone for him or get the audience ready. He comes out, he commands the room, and he kills for whatever period of time he does. And I've worked with him a lot, and it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, depending on what the audience is giving him, and he knows when to get out. Like, he's not one of those guys who's like, I'm going to go up for 4 hours.
Right.
If people are there for a party and they're having a good time, he rolls with it. I'm sorry, I'm just promoting Earl David Reed on your show, but he's a killer.
I asked you his name, and
I'd put him pound for pound against, even the names you do know, and it's just crazy how some people make that leap and some people don't, but he's happy and he's crushing it. Like,
he's another guy that I'll guarantee doesn't know me because I wasn't even booking it. I was the house comic and like managing, but I wasn't booking it then, so he wouldn't have really dealt with me. I hosted on the things. This is like 10 years ago. But when I watched him, he's one of the first people that taught me in my, like you just said, the way of setting tone. I'm like, I need to be able to go on stage during anything. Now, for my first couple of years of comedy, I was the guy, and jokingly, but it's still true. If you had a shit show, if it was a bar show, if it was a show where people are going to be loud, it was outdoors, it was a situation that comics who need silence, comics who need the setting right, could do well in. And they couldn't do well there. It was my time to shine. I'm the king of the shit show. I was the guy that would get their attention, fight over the drunks. There could be a
Yeah.
fist fight, and I would get the attention back and do that. But I wanted to learn how to do that and also be a club comic and be able to handle both situations. Watching guys like Earl David Reed taught me that the only way to learn that is to host every fucking thing. To this day, I'll host showcases. Well, someone said we're doing a 40, we're doing a hosting thing. Treehouse does it with me. Pat, we're doing a showcase of 12 comics, but you're going to host, but you're going to do 45 minutes, but you're going to start, you do time between. I can go on during a fucking tornado, and it doesn't fucking matter because I learned from guys like him to go up there, and it doesn't matter what happened before. Once I'm on stage, I set that tone, I change it, and now it's my fucking stage, and you're all in my wake.
It's crazy because that's what he says. That's literally what he preaches. He's like, everybody wants to be a feature. Be a host. Learn to host. Be the best host, and you'll be a feature. You won't be a feature. You'll be a headliner, actually. And like he's like, everybody's goal at the end is to host the Tonight Show. So you go from hosting, learn to command a stage. So it's crazy that you use that as what you were looking and taking from him, because that's really what he goes for.
I think I might have talked about this off there, but I really do have a belief that we book shows wrong. The typical 3-person show, host, middle, headliner. The host should not be the new person. The host is more important. The middle act should be the new person, and they should do whatever time they have. It doesn't have to be 25. The opening act can do 25, but do 15 then 10, or 20 then 5, or 10 then 15. I don't care what they do with it. It's an act. You're starting your show, and you want the crowd to be. Do you have trust? You want them to feel good and laugh. Why are you taking someone who's already nervous and then giving them all they've been learning is 5-minute sets, 5-minute sets. Once in a while, get a chance to do a 10-minute set. They're not doing 15 off in their first hosting time. So all of a sudden that's thrown at them. And while it's thrown at them, by the way, remember my name and my credits. By the way, there's a wing special. By the way, get the crowd. By the way, make sure there's no cell phone. Hey, is that lady's birthday? Hey, this shit. You're giving them all this shit to do when they just learned how to do it. Why would you do that to them? Take the person who's seasoned, who knows what they're doing, pay them the feature money to host, to handle all that business, and still be funny. Let the middle act do only what they know how to do. They're jokes. They're going to shine. They're going to become stronger, and they're going to be grooming them to get ready to watch how the other guy does it, to become the host, if you will.
Absolutely.
That's the way but they don't do that because of pay scales and because of ego. Too many people who were hosting are like, fuck that. I've graduated. I'm better than that. You're better than the show. You're better than comedy.
Did you ever have that mentality? I've never thought that in my life. You could ask me to do 1 minute on a show, and I'll probably drive 6 hours to do that 1 minute for
That's
you.
how I started.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. I'm sure Connecticut's kind of similar to around here. There's not a ton as far as comedy goes, like as far as open mics and things like that. So I was driving to D.C., Virginia. Some of my best friends in comedy I met in Richmond.
Yeah,
That's
I did
7
all
hours away
over
to do 5 minutes of time. Yeah.
I did
and
all
you just got to get out where people and like you said, the shit bar shows, we're at an Applebee's and nobody knew there was a comedy show tonight. Now you just got a nice couple who's on their first date eating dinner and you're yelling, cunt in their face.
Yeah.
And
do you know Brian Plum? Brian Plum's a comic from Massachusetts who his first year you'd see like you'd see it on his Facebook. It's like, I'll be in New Jersey. And then like literally the next day it's like, I'm in I'm in West Virginia. It's like, what the fuck? He's doing like 4 minutes. But because he would do, and I also said that because his whole act was he'd get on stage and go, what are you guys, cunts? And just do that. Yeah, cunts. But like he would drive around. And when I first met him, I told him the same thing. And that's what I did when I started. I just went wherever you offered me time because I wanted to get stronger and just wanted to perform. But also, comedy is all about like if people know you exist. If people see your face on a flyer a bunch, bookers will just book you because they're like, well, someone else is booking you. They don't even know you're good. They're just like, well, your name's out there. So I started doing that all the time.
Dude, I've got my entire reputation in this area off of one hot contest, one hot open mic set, and the fact I work with Earl. Nobody else knows my comedy or anything, but it's those 3 things that people have seen my face on that have carried me, and you know what I mean. Like
The,
little
the
things like that.
compound, the compound thing doesn't help at all.
Oh my god, it helps so much.
That's what
All
I'm
those
saying. It
guys are
can't
the
be
most
just
nice
the
people in the
compound.
world. But I meant literally in this area. Like people don't recognize me from that around
No, that's
here.
what I'm saying. That doesn't matter out there. It's just in that area. I mean, like in there, does
There are
the weight of that
a
work at all?
there are a couple of good comedians around here that recognize me from that. And they're like, "Are you that guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "I wouldn't have put two and two together." But not really. I'm
No.
not. I mean, I'm not in the limelight ever. I try to stay out of the scenes at Compound. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
the East Side Dave show helps a lot. I've had one person recognize me at work from that, and I was like, "You just pick out whatever you want here, and I will discount it as much as I possibly can for you."
My favorite being recognized from compound thing is I was at my sister's wedding, and this is last year, and we're just I'm in the wedding, we're there, whatever, and bunch of people from like the friends and the groom, and I don't know who this guy was. I think he was just a friend of somebody, whatever, like a neighbor or something that got invited. Walks up to me and says, "Hey, sorry if this is weird." No, he's like, but I've watched you on Kumia, and I went, "Wait, what?" Here I am
Oh,
at my sister
we're
wedding,
gonna be friends.
and I'm like, "No, it's not weird at all." And I'm like, he's like, "Yeah, like you're hilarious on there." So you go down, like, it's so great that you're on there, and that's all. I think you're very funny. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm feeling better than my sister at her own fucking wedding." You know how fucking good I feel right now?
Yeah.
This makes me feel wonderful. Thank you,
That's
sir. I think of that moment all the times I lay in bed and cry a blanket of tears for myself when I'm sad about my life. So thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
that, and the firefighter who came in and was like, "Weren't you that funny fellow from the fire hall?" And I was like, "Yes, sir. Those are the two things to keep me going."
People don't get it, but fire hall shows, man.
Oh,
Those
they're the
audio
best.
when they
Oh.
like you, it's one of the greatest fucking. I think that's what black church feels like for white people. Like it really is, like just white
Yeah.
people in a firehouse, fucking just ready to fucking go. Like I've
Rip
done.
roaring. Oh,
Oh,
there's no better feeling.
and better when you say something that kind of should be offensive, and then you're like taking that chance because you're just steamrolling, like like Rich. That's why he's the steamroll. He would just
Yeah.
boom, just running through, and you say something where you're like, okay, I'm testing it. They're letting me do everything. I'm throwing out this, and you say this thing, and they pause, and then they just fucking explode, like woo, and they lose their mind. They're ready to start a Klan rally. It's like hooray, boom, 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 boom. The craziest
It's
feeling.
the best.
But
My spelling
that's
joke. My spelling joke. You know the joke I'm
yes,
talking about?
yep.
That is that joke because it takes them 30 seconds to spell it out in their head, and then they just lose it. I'm usually like, "That's my time."
It's the greatest feeling, but then you have to tell yourself in the car right away, it's over. Stop it. You
Yep.
did it. Tomorrow
Yep.
happens. Not
Yep.
just the bombs, but the kills too. You just
Yep.
got to go. It was that night. You want to do it again, but you can't sit there and think you're great now because of that fucking thing.
Yep.
It's
And
like
that's where those rooms help. Like going to all those shows, like every time I would go to one, there'd be one guy you'd be like, "Oh shit, I thought I was doing well," and there's fucking Winston again, and he
yeah.
would just smoke you. You know what I mean? And you're like,
Mhm.
okay, it keeps you working. Like as much as the stage helps, it also keeps you writing because you're like, all these guys are better than me. Like, you know what I mean? And I did one during a national championship basketball game during the final game of March Madness, and a comedian went up during halftime and just destroyed. And I was like, "Oh, well, there goes your excuse." You know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
shit like that keeps you going. It keeps you writing. You're like,
It was halftime. You didn't
I'll
have to
take
go
it, dude.
against the
I'll
game.
take it.
You know what I mean? Fuck him. He got halftime. You didn't get halftime. You got gameplay. It was a good game. Fuck that.
That's true.
Fuck
It
that
was.
motherfucker. He knew. He probably watched the lineup. He probably played with the times in his head. He goes, I'll go eighth. Like, well, how the fuck do you about going eighth? Like halftime.
Well, you do know that every comedian there was trying to do that math in their head and draw the right straw to get that slot.
Oh, that's so fucking crazy. But like you're saying, like to me, comedy's kind of like, okay, you go on a date with someone, you don't know them at all. You go on this date, and it goes off great. You all like each other. It sounds wonderful. And then the next day, that person doesn't respond to you when you say, hey. And then after that, you're like, what happened? And then you find out 3 days later, they're like, I liked you a lot, but and then they start to like overthink what happened. And they're like, well, because like it was so good, but I'm not ready for this. And I don't think you're ready for that. So let's just never speak again. Like those are shows when I've had that in my mind every time I do a club and I crush. And then like a couple months later, I'm like, hey, I'd love to come back. And they're like not responding to, don't you remember when I set the world on fire? And then I have to remember, oh, it was probably the venue, not just me. That crowd's probably always
Yeah.
hot. So every month somebody crushes. So that girl is just going on a bunch of dates where it's great, but at the end she's just like, I'm just here for some sweet dates, maybe, and some laughs. I'm not here for the whole thing. I'm
Free
like,
food.
I just want to get fucking booked again. What the fuck? Yeah, the free food, the 2-drink minimum. Fuck you. So. Yeah, that was a real thing that happened to me, I think, a week ago. So I'm just sharing.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I didn't get booked. So what's it like being back at Compound now?
It's fantastic.
In the studio.
Yeah, it is. It is fantastic. I got hired by them over the break, so I work with the
knew
morning
that, but
show
I'll
and
do
the
a
second
fake
show.
congratulations.
Thank you. But
Congratulations.
it's awesome. Everybody there is as nice as you can imagine. Like,
and the people you work with in the booth are fucking geniuses.
They're brilliant.
They're so fucking good.
I mean, it took Pat Dixon to give Garrett a show, like to be like, we need to give Garrett a show and to work with him on it. Like those two, him and Steve, funny in a different way, but
even
as
Drew.
funny as any of the.
Drew.
Yeah. I just think of those two because of In Hot Water in particular.
No, I know,
but Drew is very good too.
I think those two had a real chance to shine because Aaron and let's say Aaron and Gino, but Aaron allowed that. I mean, who runs that ship? Not against Gino. I love them both, but Aaron runs that ship. I mean, and allowing the two, understanding the two of them can contribute is great. The situation Drew was in, being in Kumia's home, having to live, nothing more awkward, having to be like the drink boy and like movie boy, but then always knew his role, always was funny when he had added in while doing his job.
Yeah, he seamlessly transitioned into that role of like an old school on-air producer who would chip in every now and again, who would like talk on air. He didn't do that as much,
and not going home and like being able to deal with shit. Living in your boss's home, no matter what you think, how crazy it's gotta be uncomfortable and weird. I'm sure it wasn't uncomfortable in a bad way, but like,
would you be able to shit?
Awkward. No, or
I
jerk
would not
off.
be able to shit.
You can't jerk off during COVID.
No, that would be
jerk off at Anthony Cumia's house. You can't, because he'll find out and then he'll talk about it.
And he's got the whole accounts wired with cameras. I'm sure he does. He's that right.
And he has 1,000 guns. He'll just shoot you if you jerk off on the wrong shit.
Yeah, exactly. Drew, want to explain this?
So, I mean, are you with that now? Are you still on Eastside Dave, or do you have to like pull back from that to do the other stuff?
No, it's great. I'm in the mornings. So Eric was like, and Dave was like, as long as you're not going to burn yourself out being here from the morning until Eastside Dave, feel free. And they ambushed me last week, and I had to do an impromptu roast battle. And so Dave's still using me, and he's the best. I owe it all to him. He answered a fan email for me, and I'm here now. Like that's literally the
cool.
path. Yeah. So in whatever capacity I can help him and he lets me help him, I'll be there for him.
For people listening, don't write your fucking letter. Don't try to be the next Bobby. He did it. He's also talented. You're not just going to write a fucking letter and get in. You're not going to fucking call up Steve Lazarus and tell him I talk shit so you can get a gig. You're not going to tell Earl David Reed that we were blowing smoke up his ass, but you should book him because you always thought that. Fuck you. This is our time to shine. Don't steal our moments. How dare you?
And if you come for the throne, come correct.
I couldn't say that. You're blacker than me with those things behind you. I can't say that. Bobby, where can they follow you? Thank you for doing it, man. I appreciate it. Always
no
fun
problem.
with you.
Can I leave you with one retail story? Because I know you've been working in retail.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So there's this manager. Last year, he filed basically a false merit review and made sure I didn't get a raise. And I've held a grudge ever since. And he would micromanage and harass me. So I told everybody he was gay. And that's why he was constantly asking me what I was doing and stuff. Well, he put his 2 weeks in, and he's going to a new job. And so after his last day at Dick's, I just called his new job and said, hey, just a heads up, this guy that you hired tried to kiss me on our last day.
And they said, what do you mean try?
He said, and I quote, we don't work together anymore. This is okay. So I guess it's not going to be a harassment issue for you.
But I like the idea of trying to kiss. Like he missed, like he put his face there and he fell down.
I like to think of it as me asserting my masculinity and stopping him. Like, no, sir.
I am a gentleman.
You got to take me to dinner first.
Or, at least like a bagel, something.
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly, even just a bottle of water
you know
doesn't
what?
take much. I'm cheap.
To be honest, you just tell me I'm pretty. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's all.
tell me I'm funny.
Oh fuck yeah! Oh my god, I'll jerk you off. You fucking tell me. Jesus Christ, it's all you and I need. I'm telling you right now, Bobby, you're one of my favorite people just to chat with. When I don't have a guest now, you're going to be the go-to, so be ready.
Thank you so much. I'll be there, dude. I love sitting down with you.
Know
you're
me.
a blast.
I usually they can see me. I'll get comments. So you're staring at your notes. You know, I have no notes. This was one where I'm just like, I can just chat, Bobby. And but we have to work on our Amish baseball movie. This is something we can't leave. That's that's our future right there. It's happening.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right. So where can they follow you?
Follow me on Twitter at Bobby_Tamburro or on Instagram at Bobby Tamburro. Or just check out Pat's podcast. Check out his other podcasts. They're great too. But most importantly, the Eastside Dave Show every Tuesday, 7:30 on Compound Media.
If you like zany, if you like what the fuck, if you like saying, if you like watching a show then not being able to explain it because words don't do it justice, watch Eastside Dave. He's brilliant. He's fucking a brilliant, crazy person.
No one in the business like him.
Oh, I thought you said no one in the business likes him.
No. There's no one in the business like him.
I know. At first, I'm like, what a weird shot at the end. He gave my chance. He fucking gave me that moment to shine. No one likes you, bitch. Fuck off. Roy
Never.
all day. Fuck Dave.
Roy's the man too, but never. I owe Dave everything.
If you wanted to see what it's like if you did crack but then cleaned yourself up and still pretend like you were on crack, watch Eastside Dave. That's the best way to explain it.
If you did acid, wrote a script for a show, and then had to follow it while sober, that's the Eastside Dave Show.
Or if you were someone who I guess had to pretend they were on mushrooms, but do it really well because everyone in their family was on mushrooms. So they kind of know, but they don't know. But there's also keyboard player and then people that might be mentally retarded in the audience. Eastside Dave.
Eastside Dave.
We're doing great commercials for it.
We are.
Bobby, thank you so much for doing it, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Pat. It was a blast.